The weather in northern Spain is notoriously unpredictable, much like La Vuelta itself. Well, stage 16 of the great race was supposed to be a reintroduction to the action ahead of the Angliru on stage 17. Well, itself was going to have so much drama. Destination Bejes, and avowedly not a day for Remco Evenepoel. He said he'd be keeping himself ready for the Angliru in defence of the polka dot jersey. Well, there are several teams that would like to get something more out of this race. Ineos Grenadiers are one, Movistar most certainly another. But what could they do? Getting to the breakaway was the order of the day, running along the coast before a big test at the end, a nasty spike to finish the day's proceedings with ramps of 16% and more. Well, not a big distance either, 120 kilometres, but we started to eat into those very, very quickly. Many different incarnations of a breakaway, and every single one of them contained Caden Groves. He was after intermediate sprint points. Meanwhile, those teams had missed out on the big break once it finally formed, included Ineos Grenadiers, and they were punishing themselves trying to make amends. Didn't work. Well, chances in this race are few and far between and thinning out, I think you might say. And taking a chance to pick up some intermediate sprint points, Caden Groves was determined to get up the road and take those before the big climb at the end of the day, which would, of course, not suit him. Well, the gap was being moderated through this spectacular scenery, and Jumbo-Visma were doing much of the work. Caden Groves finished his job for the day, maxing out on the intermediate sprint, giving himself another 20 points. And the way these intermediate sprints remain in the rest of the race, he could well have the green jersey by the end. He pulled the pin from a diminishing breakaway. Unfortunately, there was a detonation behind as well. And Luis Leon Sanchez found himself on the deck. A man retiring at the end of the season. He did come home on the bike today, you'll be pleased to know. Well, the mountain beckoned, and indeed once we came to the final turn onto the climb itself, just 4.8 kilometres, but 14% right at the very beginning, and then 16% the last 2 kilometres of the climb. Jumbo-Visma now in control. Now the breakaway had been found, but who would it be to break for the horizon? Jonas Vingegaard, leaving Sepp Kuss and Primož Roglic in his wake, and indeed the gap was outstanding. He just kicked on. Any signs of fatigue he may have been displaying in this race from the Tour de France seemed to be a thing of the past. Nearest man to him, Finn Fisher-Black. Brave effort by UE Team Emirates, but much of the other favourites were riding home together. Well, the likes of Ayuso and also João Almeida were probing, testing, but the man who was passing every single test was Jonas Vingegaard. His determination was to honour Nathan van Hooijdonk, who'd suffered an accident in the morning, as news filtered through that his condition was a lot better. Then the emotions perhaps were evening out a little. Roglic kicked on as well. He checked over his shoulder to see where Sepp Kuss was. The answer was at a gap. Vingegaard crossed the line to take the win, brilliantly so. Finn Fisher-Black closest to him. Other good finishers, including Wout Poels, who'd had a fabulous final ramp. But it was all about whether the lead of the race would change. Primož Roglic himself was trying to find time. Maybe the inter-team rivalry within Jumbo-Visma just starting to show. Roglic coming across the line, giving a quick check over his shoulder to see where Sepp Kuss was, and the answer was a further 4 seconds behind. So the gap between Vingegaard, Roglic and Sepp Kuss narrowing on the day. And indeed Roglic and Vingegaard exchanging places in the overall classification. Another stage win for Vingegaard. He gave Sepp Kuss a cuddle. No apologies, none asked for either. Vingegaard winning ahead of Finn Fisher-Black, Wout Poels, Stora, Ayuso, Mas, Vlasov, Roglic, Landa and Sepp Kuss rounding out the top 10, finishing 1 minute and 5 down, plus of course those bonus seconds factored in as well. It means Sepp Kuss still leads this race, but with some serious climbing days to come. His margin of advantage is only 29 seconds over Vingegaard and 1 minute and 33 over Roglic. Ayuso possibly thinking about a podium, and Mas likewise. And so, what of tomorrow? Well, the Angliru, always causes some nerves, and no surprise. And just look at the day. Maybe a gentle introduction, but the peaks that we have and the troughs that lead to our finale are magnificent. The Colla d'Iella, the Cordal and the Angliru itself await on stage 17.